I'd like to welcome you today to our Reed and Christine Halliday Executive Lecture Series. Today's speaker is Randy Garn. Randy is the Chief Revenue Officer and Principal at Hero Partners. Randy is a New York Times best-selling author, a passionate entrepreneur who loves growing companies through proven strategies and methods and understanding the company's core strengths. Randy is a serial entrepreneur, as about as serial as they get. He was one of the founding partners of Prosper, Inc. and has worked closely with some of the world's most renowned educators, speakers, and thought leaders. In addition to Prosper, he's founded several other companies that have become industry leaders in marketing, online acquisition, and product development. One of these companies, adcafe.com, has more than 2 million subscribers and is continually growing. He was awarded Entrepreneur of the Year by Ernst & Young, was a top 40 under 40 entrepreneur, and has received various awards in social and charitable involvement. Randy is an alumni of Brigham Young University, a graduate of the Owner President Management Program at Harvard University, and is an alumni of the Harvard Business School. Randy lives here in Utah with his wife Charlotte, or Char, as most of us know her, who actually is an amazing entrepreneur in her own right. We may need to get her to come speak at some point. So he's here with John Jacobs, who works with him, and it's John's birthday today. So as he leaves, make sure you give him a bad time about how old he is and things like that. So birthday today. Randy has 4 beautiful daughters and 2 sons. Apparently his sons aren't beautiful. It just says beautiful daughters and 2 sons. So I don't know what's up with that. He has a passion for the outdoors. He's an avid fly fisherman. And I'm excited to call him a great friend. We're lucky to have Randy join us today. Let's give him a big round of applause.
You know, I'm actually gonna use a lavalier for a little bit here, but I'm excited to be here with everyone as well. So one of my huge passions is entrepreneurship, and I wanted to just give you a little taste of what that means and what it means to be an entrepreneur, but I also wanted to get a feel for the audience. I actually want this to be very interactive today. I know that how this is, a lot of you guys are probably forced to be here. There's a class you have to come to, but I hope that you'll actually get something out of this as well. And so one of the things that I wanted to just get a feel for the audience so I can know where I want this to go and where I want the presentation to go. How many of you in here, by raise of hands, feel that you want to start your own business or that you're an entrepreneur? Raise your hands high. Okay? All right. So higher. Let me see again. Okay. So probably a little over 50% of the class, probably. How many of you have already started your own business or are doing something on your own to create revenue? Okay. So probably about half of you. Wonderful. That's great. I want to just give you a little bit of my background. My nickname growing up is Rudy. And after the movie Rudy Rudiger, has anybody seen that? Okay, so we do a lot with Rudy. He comes out, he speaks to a lot of our events. He's going to come out to the BYU Virginia game with us. But I met him several years ago, but that was my nickname in high school. My dad, I grew up in Sugar City, Idaho. Do we have any good Idahoans here? All right, go Idaho. But I married a Utah girl, and I got stuck here, and I love it. This is an amazing place to live, an amazing place to grow a family, and an amazing place for business. We're doing a lot with our company, with Hero Partners, to help incubate businesses here in the state, and then in the whole Mountain West region. So it's really fun to live here. I love it. My wife started her own business as well. Shade Clothing. It was a clothing company back in the day. And then we had a set of twin girls, and then we had a set of twin boys, and now she's the CEO at home, and so we keep busy that way. But growing up, my mom and dad were both educators. My dad was a high school football coach, and so we literally would say family prayers, then we'd put it in, ready, break, and we'd get out and do chores and everything. And he ran it very militantly, but it was very fun. And so he actually always had that entrepreneurial spirit as well. And so I can think back to when I was really young. My first business was actually selling worms to fishermen, and we actually did really, really well. We'd get chemical, we go dump it on lawns, and we actually would sell worms to fishermen. And then there was another business where we'd get it and do it. And then I just fell in love with fishing. So fly fishing is a huge passion of mine in entrepreneurship. Those are probably the two biggest things that I love. And I'll tell you how I've got fly fishing back in to really help accelerate our growth and how we do something called VOR. So right now, I'd love to know, how many of you are married? Okay? So, I mean, over 70% probably are married in here. And so there is, I mean, when you get married, there's another responsibility. So how do you be an entrepreneur? So I want to talk a little bit about entrepreneurship and intrapreneurship and how you can do that. What I'd call one of my successful businesses was one I'll explain to you. When I was going to college, I graduated from Rick's College before it was BYU, Idaho. And how many has been to Rexburg in the wintertime? Is it cold? It's freezing, isn't it? It's really cold. In fact, I didn't know how cold it was until I moved here, and then I'd go back in the wintertime, and it's frigid. So one of my first businesses was called Buck Buck. And I need you guys to do some math for me. So bring out your calculators, and there's a prize for whoever gets this number right. I wanted to share with you the power of ideas and the power of entrepreneurship. Because money isn't everything, but the ability to create it and to be the ability to innovate is very important, always. If you're a good innovator and good at creating things, you'll never be out of a job, ever, whether you do your own or whether you work with somebody. So I wanted to share with you, out of necessity, again, I had to pay for my own college. When I got back I served an LDS mission in the Philippines, I got back. My sister was pregnant, and there were some other things that were going on, so my parents weren't able to pay for college. So my dad's like, you've got to do that. So necessity is really important sometimes for you to be able to innovate and to come up with solutions. And so, being married, thinking about, okay, this was before I was married, but one of the things that we did was called Buck Buck. And we went around, and the girls' dorms, the girls hated taking their garbage out in the winter because you had to go down the stairs, all the way to the dumpster, across the parking lot, and get the dumpster. So me and my buddies, there was 3 of us, and we said, we'll take your garbage out twice a week for $1. And all of the girls are just like, that's fantastic, we'll do it. So we said $1 a person per room, so every girl had to pay $1. It was average there were usually 4 per dorm, and I just say I averaged it out to 3. I actually looked back at my journal on how this was. So our average was we signed up 276 dorm rooms, and that's at $300 per door. $3 per door. So 276 times $3 times 2 times a week, and then 4 weeks a month. I want to know how much revenue is that for 3 guys per month. Hey, who's got it? All right, young man up here. Okay, $6,624. Okay, any contestant? Did anybody get a different number? Okay. Okay, so if you divide by 3, I love it. You guys are really thinking here. If you divide by 3, that's $2,208 per person. So that was my second step. So he got it right, and you got it right. All right, so I've got a little gift for you. Here's a book that I wrote just on entrepreneurship called Prosper. And sure, we'll do that after. So $6,624. Okay, and that was $2,208 per person per month. So this literally paid for my college, just taking out the garbage. We turned trash into cash. We called it Buck Buck. And my dad had this old Jeep, and we'd just pull it up, and we'd run through the dorms, and it only took us about 2 hours twice a week. So I want you to figure out that. What about the math on that? How much so it was literally 8 hours a month. How much were we making an hour? Okay, $276 an hour is what we were making. And when we did that math, we were like, this is awesome. So we started hiring on other guys, and then, we just it flourished from there. And it actually started to go in other colleges and things like that. But it was called Buck Buck. And it was just it was out of necessity that I had to do this. But we had a lot of fun. And because we did that, we got to know tons and tons of people. I ended up inadvertently meeting my wife through this, and I ran for student body president the next year after we did this, and won that as well, just because I think I knew all the girls. So it was actually worked out really, really well. So do you see how just little things like that, you can really think of little ways to generate an income, no matter what your circumstance is. And that's what entrepreneurship is. So I want to just share with you guys a quick video. I want you to watch this video, and I have another assignment for you. I want you to watch all the people in this video, and I want to see who can name. I love this video. I want to discuss it.
Here's to the crazy ones, the rebels, the troublemakers, the ones who see things differently. While some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.
Isn't that a great commercial? It is, you think about it. How often was something crazy an hour before somebody did it? How often was something undoable just an hour before somebody was able to accomplish it and do it? And so I want you guys to think about what you can do in your lives to really make a difference and to create a difference. Because we all can, but as we see this video, what come to your mind as you saw that? Anybody? As you watched that video, what was going through your mind? Okay, up here. Okay, change. Why change?
All of those individuals had some sort of relevant aspect of change in their lives.
Okay. They did. There was a tremendous aspect of change. Which one?
Which person did I
Yeah.
Jim Henson.
Okay. Jim Henson. Okay, Jim Henson, Muhammad Ali. You know, the Muppets. He created a whole industry around that. So, and then Muhammad Ali, he's one of my favorites, for sure, the champ. He was good. What else? Okay, right here in the hat. Hatterby. Yeah, no, hat, yeah. Beanie, sorry. Yeah. Okay, why do you think you got emotional?
Because they were so influential. Like Jerry Seinfeld, he was hilarious, right? Because
Yeah.
it's funny in my heart when I hear Steve Einstein's theory of relativity and just how impactful that has been on just my own thoughts. So it's just
Right. Yeah, so it drove emotion for you. But I'm asking, why did it drive emotion for you? Right, because it changed you. Because you can think about, those guys did it, you know, I could too. You know, those are some of the things. What else as you watch that? Okay, up here in the red shirt. Right. Yeah, they were completely focused. Like they knew exactly what they wanted to accomplish, and they drove it hard. Do you think any of them had failures? Oh yeah. Which one was it that as you look at that? Yep. Yep. It's awesome. What else? Okay, right here.
One of the things that stood out to me was hope.
Okay.
And I say that because all those men started out as nothing. You know, they started out from ground zero, and that's where we're all starting out right now as college students. We all have to make it, and they made it, and they basically showed us how it's possible.
Right. There is hope. You know, there is hope for things being innovative and for things that better. Just think of if the Wright brothers would have never invented or given up on the airplane. Like the people called them nuts. And they were able to do that, and now look at the aviation industry. Look at how us able to be able to travel all over the world. And airplanes are used for so much. So, anything else? Okay? Right here, young lady. Okay. They were true to themselves. Expound on that a little bit more. What was your name? Lizzie?
Well, I think Picasso stands out to me. I mean, he was doing things that were so far out in left field, like the whole cubism was him, and but he was creating because that was what was coming from him.
Right.
He didn't care if anyone else accepted it. He was just doing what he felt.
Right. So Picasso, he knew, and we actually, as a company, one of the biggest things that we do with Hero Partners is we actually invest. We look at we're a business acceleration firm, and so we look at companies and CEOs' core competencies is what we call it. So what is your unique core competency? And in my book, I call it a Polaris point. That is so important for all of you to know what your core competency is, because then you can generate revenue off your core competency. Some of you may be really good with people. Some of you may be really good at development. Some of you may be really, really good at creative, So think about that. Picasso, did any of these guys have the same core competency? No, none of them did. And you know what? Neither do any of you. Neither do any of you. And so core competency is one of the things, if you want to be an entrepreneur or an entrepreneur, core competency is so important for you to understand what you're really, really, really good at. And fully understanding that. So I love that, Lizzie. That's a good one. What else from that? Okay?
I just had a thought come across my mind. It says, well-behaved women rarely make history.
Okay. Well-behaved, so again, well-behaved women rarely make history.
That's what struck me with that, is that those people didn't just sit on their hands and have good manners.
Right.
They reached outside the box to make history.
Right. They were disruptive. They did things that hadn't been done before. And they did things that hadn't been done before, whether men or women, but some of those women were amazing. Who were some of the women in there? Okay. Yeah, we're going to get to that in a minute because we're going to quiz and see who can get them all. Okay, so yeah, somebody, making sure that if somebody says you can't be done, there's a quote that I love from Edward A. Guest called, somebody said that it couldn't be done, that he with a snicker replied that maybe it couldn't, but he wouldn't be one that said that he couldn't until he tried. So he buckled right in with a trace of a grin without doubting or quitting. He started to grin as he tackled the thing that couldn't be done, and he did it. There are thousands who will prophesy failure. There are thousands that tell you that it cannot be done. But he took off his coat, and he took off his hat, and the next thing we knew, he'd begun it. And he started to sing as he tackled the thing that couldn't be done, and he did it. And I actually memorized that when I was like 15 years old. And I think about that all the time. Like, that's me. Nobody's going to tell me that something can't be done. And so as you think about that, it doesn't mean you're going to be a multimillionaire, a billionaire, but you have inside you to understand your core competencies and then create a strategy around that. And so as you think about that, if you want to be an entrepreneur, understanding your core competency is key. That's my first point. So I want to see who could get all of the people. Who thinks they can name them all? Anybody write them down? Anybody give me, okay, let's, okay. I think, how many were there, John? I think there were 13? 12 or 13. All right. So Albert Einstein. Who else? Okay, Bob Dylan. Okay. Who else? Okay. Martin Luther King. He was the next one. And then we've got, I'm having a hard time with the clicker here. Where do I click to? Okay, John Lennon, Martha Graham. Who knows who Martha Graham is? We got any dancers in here? All right. Okay, Muhammad Ali, Alfred Hitchcock. Love Alfred. Mahatma Gandhi. Jim Hansen was mentioned. Maria Callas. Anybody know who Maria Callas is? Huh? Opera. Okay. Great. Are you a singer? Great. Is that Pam? I love it. Pablo Picasso was mentioned. And then Jerry Seinfeld. Jerry! So there's some of them. So as you think about that, I mentioned this a little bit, what do you think is the difference between entrepreneurship and intrapreneurship? Anybody tell me what I mean by that? This is in our book as well. What's the difference between entrepreneurship and intrapreneurship? Okay, right here.
I don't know for sure, but an educated guess would be an entrepreneur is someone who goes out and finds something new and creates it. An entrepreneur is someone who creates from within a company or organization.
Okay, you nailed it. Say that loud again.
Oh, okay. An entrepreneur is someone who goes out and creates something from outside of something, and entrepreneurship is creates from within or innovates from within.
Okay, and there's entrepreneurship, which is creating within an organization to be able to innovate. There's so many companies right now that are hiring on both chief transformation officers or chief innovation officers. Sony, one of the guys that's coming up to our trout ranch this weekend, he's the chief transformation officer, and his job is to actually transform innovation, to continue to ideate. You know, you get a company like Sony, it gets so large. How do you continue to have innovation and ideation? So entrepreneurship is doing it on your own. And getting out there and building it, taking that on. Entrepreneurship is the ability. It might be less risky, but if you're an entrepreneur, it doesn't matter what your job title is. If you're, like I said, if you're always innovating with inside the company, you will never lose your job. If you're always thinking of ways to improve things and to better things, you will always have a place to call home. And that may actually be able to help you to be an entrepreneur as well. If you're not ready to take that risk, but I promise you, if you really are always thinking about how to do things better is good. Did you have something to add to that?
I just had a question. If you create something maybe within a business frame or a model, so like within a technology or within accounting or whatever, would you be considered an entrepreneur within that model, or would you be considered an entrepreneur to go within different frames? Does that make sense? My question makes sense?
Yeah, it does. So if there's something already created and you're helping to improve it and innovate it,
A business is not a specific business, but as an environment as a whole, a market as a whole, accounting as a whole.
yeah.
That would be considered
If it's a new technology that you're creating for an industry, then you'd be an entrepreneur. You know, if you're inside a company and you're working on something, then you'd be an entrepreneur. And one of the things, as you think about it, if you're an entrepreneur and you like being inside companies, one thing I've always learned in my life, you don't ever get what you deserve. You never get what you deserve. You get what you negotiate. Okay? I want you guys to remember that. You don't get what you deserve, and especially when you're an entrepreneur or when you're looking for a job or when you're doing that. If you're an entrepreneur innovator, you make sure you understand that principle. You don't get what you deserve. You get what you negotiate. And as you think about that, just think about there's always this innovation. And so one of the things that we work on our hero model. I'll give you a little bit of a background. Doing Buck was one of my companies, and we started several more. I started another company when I was at BYU studying economics. We started a company called Prosper, and that company went for almost 17 years, and it's still going. It was actually acquired, but I started that when I was in college, still in college, and married and had a wife and kids, and we started my sophomore year, and then it just kept continuing to grow, and we kept continuing to innovate. But from doing that, almost 3 years ago, I met a gentleman named Rob Ryan, and he's the chairman of our company right now currently at Hero Partners. And when I'd met him, he said, hey, you're really good at marketing, you're really good at advertising, you're really good with books, I want to write a book with you. So we're in the process of writing another book together, myself, Rob, and then Tyler Norton, our current CEO at Hero Partners. Rob is probably he is the best entrepreneur, I think, in America. He's built 5 companies for over $1 billion in evaluation. He is, Ascend Communications was bought by Lucent AT&T back in 1994 for $24 billion, was his first company. And he did that from scratch, and his wife was his chief legal officer as well. So he has a model. I don't know anybody else that's done that. We've studied it, we've researched it, but he has a model that's called the sunflower model. And it's all about how to change the wheel on your car when you're driving 90 miles an hour down the freeway. And so we actually, as a company, we're a business acceleration firm. So what I get to do right now is go around and look at ideas. This morning I was with a company that's created an ability to read DNA and read your genomes, and to be able to tell what diseases you may get so you can be preventative and do that. I've got 4 companies flying in from Israel, 2 tonight, and then 2 on Sunday that will be hosting up at our event. That 2 of them I think could change the way we do email and internet. And it's so fun right now. My whole job as Chief Revenue Officer at Hero Partners is actually to interview companies that have great ideas and to see if we can help them really be not just disruptive but eruptive and to be really, really explosive and grow. So we look and we work with companies that have the ability to continue to innovate and ideate. And who is that next person that's going to be the next Elon Musk or the next, whoever it may be is going to come up with that idea. So that's what's so fun about what I do now. There's not anything else that I'd rather want to do than what I'm doing right now and to meet Rob and the team and our group at Hero Partners. So it's pretty fun. But I want to just take you through, because I think this is really important, just this kind of our hero model. And it's a good one for you as you're thinking about either starting a business or how you continue to do this. So I have a few questions to ask you. How much time do I have left? 20 minutes. Okay, all right. So as I go through this, when I talk about, ideation, validation, strategy, execution, and VOR is kind of a little bit of our secret sauce. These are the parts and elements for you to have a very, very, very successful business. This is what has been Rob Ryan's matched with his sunflower process, and then our CEO Tyler Norton. His father was the chief strategist for Kraft Nabisco, worked for Warren Buffett for over 30 years, and he had a strategic model called StratLink that is part of our execution model as well. So when I talk about the hero model, ideation, let me ask you this: what is more important, the idea or the execution? I want to talk about that for a minute, just on that topic. What's more important as an entrepreneur, the idea or the execution? Okay? I want to see some hands. Maybe some that haven't been up. Okay, you up there. Okay, you say execution. All right, who else? Does everybody think execution? Anybody else thinks different? All right, you in the blue. Okay, if you can think it, you can make it happen. So he's got ideas more important, and you've got execution is more important. Did you have something to add to that? So he's saying if you have the idea, it's just going to happen.
That's a good thing, but a lot of the times our ideas aren't specifically what the market needs.
Okay.
So what I'm saying about execution is, as you go out and find a need in the market, your idea most likely, if you do your market research, won't end up the way that it originally began.
Okay, so you're saying the original idea isn't going to be $1 billion idea? Okay, you're saying that markets change and evolve? Okay, I want to come back to that, okay? This is an important part. So, all right.
I was going to say, along with the execution, you can have the best idea in the world, but if you don't know what to do with it.
Okay. But he's saying if you have an idea, it's just going to happen. Okay, depends on the person. All right, so we got another one on execution, okay? Right here. Okay, if you have a bad idea and poor execution, it's not going to be big. And if you have good execution and a bad idea, it's going to be, so yours for both. All right, you've got your rally cap on, so you're like for both. I'm saying like it's not either or, it's and. All right, is that a true statement? Okay, all right, we got up here in the hat up here. Okay, so you guys have a great idea, and you said did you say it is $1 billion business or it could be? Okay, so what's more important? Yeah, let me ask you, what's more important? Idea or the execution?
I think it's the idea. It's the idea that's important, but the execution is difficult because it's a very niche.
Okay, if I were to ask you, pick one. In your, if one's 51% more, which one is it?
I think the idea could change the world and
You think it could, but does it?
third world countries. No, it absolutely would if it was implemented.
Okay, it would and it could if it were implemented. Okay, so I'm going back to you. Which one's more important to you, idea or execution? Okay, execution. I was confused because I thought you were going down idea. So, but if you don't have an idea, can you execute to it? So I want right now, this is the last decision you're ever going to make in your life, and everyone has to vote. Everybody in this room, I want your hand up. All right, who says idea is more important? Raise your hand. All right. Okay. All right, hands down. Who says execution is more important than the idea? All right, okay. So it looks like execution wins. Okay, does anybody really want to negotiate that? Like, anybody have some strong feelings with that? Beanie Man.
Honestly, I feel like it's you have thought, it turns into an idea. You have an idea, it turns into an action. You go down that process. If you have an idea, I think it will actually lead to something where you can bounce it off somebody else. Maybe they can do something with it. It has to start as a seed, and it has to eventually grow into something.
Okay.
An idea has to have started, it has to live and grow into something.
Okay. All right, right here. What's your name? Dallin. Okay. Okay. Okay, so let me ask you this. So you just hit on something really important. So the original idea, and I think you hit on it up here as well. I think you did in the rally cap here. One more, and then another one. We're going to come back to that, okay? You. What's your name?
My name's Jesse.
Jesse, okay?
So I was just going to add to that, there's people that are great at coming up with new ideas, and there's people that are great at execution. So if I have a great idea and I'm a poor executor, it doesn't matter. I can find somebody that can help me execute.
Okay.
The idea is important.
Okay, so you can find somebody to help you execute. And you're saying like just anybody can help you execute. You got to find.
You gotta find somebody that's good at executing.
Okay.
But you start with the idea.
And what's he going to say? Is he going to say, what do you think the guy that's good at executing is going to say? All right, so this is important. This was actually a discussion with one of our business partners I actually didn't end up doing business with. Is like, the idea to him was worth 90%, and then the execution was 10%. So I mean, this is an age-old thing. I love it that we got some good participation here. Okay, up here in the white shirt. What was your name? Michael. Okay. 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 All right. One more up here.
I think if you look at some of the most successful companies right now, especially Google, Microsoft, Apple, there's always two people, and you kind of have one guy that was taking care of the idea and one guy that's taking care of the execution.
Okay. Awesome. So which one did you choose?
I think execution.
You choose execution. All right. All right. Right here. You switched? You switched already? Who talked you out of it? You got to be firm. We got to be firm here. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So you switched on us. All right. Can I see you after class? Are we okay? All right. Okay. All right. Up here. Okay. Okay. Yep.
Just like an army, there's not someone that has an idea about what way to infiltrate a base or whatever. Like, yeah, you have people that are ready to execute it without the idea. Are you already going to complete it?
Okay. Well, we could go on and on. One last one, then we're gonna conclude on this one. So.
I love watching Shark Tank.
Okay, you love watching Shark Tank.
And the whole reason why people go on there is to find someone who can execute their idea. They might have a great idea, but they don't know how to execute or make it bigger. And so they go on there to help become a billion-dollar company. And so the people on the panel are good at executing. They make it bigger with that themselves.
Okay.
People are definitely going.
Well, I love it. You know what's so fun is like we literally, we go into companies all the time and have this discussion with them. It's amazing because Rob Ryan, our chairman, who's built $5 billion companies, he is ideation. He is an innovator. He literally figured out, remember back in the day with AOL, I don't know if you guys do the dial-up where it's like, he solved that problem. And he grew from $16 million to $40 million to $180 million to $240 million and ended up getting acquired for $24 billion. But he continued to innovate and continued to ideate. He was point-to-point dialing, and then he was able to continue to innovate and come up with other additional pedals. Now he'll also say that innovation and ideation is critical, and then validation is the next step. Like, will the dogs eat the dog food? So if you have an idea, that's our third step, is validation. A lot of people, so many entrepreneurs that we see, and we usually work with companies that are doing, between $3 million and $20 million and help them try to really get lift from that with the process. And so, but we see so many entrepreneurs that have a great idea, a fantastic idea, but it hasn't even been validated yet. Like, has anybody bought it? Have you sold it? So coming back, if you have an idea, is it validated? Will it sell? Will it move? That's critical part of that. So ideation is important. And I'm just going to tell you guys, it actually is both of those. Business is, I don't know if this has a laser on it, but I got 10 minutes. Okay. So it really is, this whole process is what we feel creates a very, very successful business. It isn't one or the other. It's together. It's very multidimensional. Business is very, very multidimensional. You have to have people with an idea. You have to have people that can execute well. So we spend a ton of time up front on the ideation and validation. Will it continue to sell? And then how do you continue to innovate? Just because something was good today doesn't mean it's going to be good tomorrow. I mean, what are some examples of companies that you can think of off your hand that didn't innovate? Okay, Blockbuster. What happened to them? Some little company that had a great idea of putting vending machine movies out shut them down. And they're like, whew, that was a good idea, but they started late. They didn't continue to innovate. What else? Who else? Okay, Blackberry. Who has a Blackberry still in here? Let me see that. All right, crickets. And that wasn't too long ago. When I first going, it was Blackberry was everything. I was so fast with that thing. I think my thumbs got smaller because I could get so fast at typing on that. So does that make sense what I'm saying? It isn't one or the other. And you got to understand what your core competency is so that you can continue to innovate from that. And then it's all about validation. Will the dogs eat the dog food? Will it sell? Is this something that people want? Is it the right pricing? So we spend a ton in validation as pricing models. There's, 3 different P's: price point, promotion, and product. What's the price point that it needs to be at? What's the product? And then what's the promotion that this thing is going to sell and move? If it's not creating revenue, then it's not a business, it's a hobby. Okay? If it's not creating revenue, it is a hobby, and it might be something that you're really good at and you love. But if you want to generate revenue, that's when it's considered a business. Okay? Or you could set up a nonprofit too. There's different ways to do it. Then after validation is strategy and execution is critical. If you're an entrepreneur or an entrepreneur, if you have a great idea, either you also have to be really, really good at strategy and execution, which I actually think Steve Jobs was actually that. He was really good he was really good at the idea side, but then he also had an ability to really get his team and mobilize people to execute. I mean, look when he left, what happened. And then he came back in. They brought him back in to be able to now drive execution. So strategy and execution, like I'm talking about, this is very multidimensional. And the next is really Tyler Norton, who's our CEO, his dad, Vertus Norton, and Jim Kiltz ran Kraft Nabisco. And we actually take that process that they used to run, I think it was like a $36 billion enterprise at the time. But we have a process that we run small businesses on with strategy and execution and get their whole team aligned. Strategy and execution drive accountability and growth. That's where the rubber hits the road. That's where you turn that idea into serious growth. Does this make sense? Okay? Okay. Yeah, sometimes we will, but usually they're a little early stage. We'll help them to actually get some models together to go out and do that. But if they're a really innovative company, like there's one we're working with that can cure malaria that we're going to be up with this Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday up at the Trout Ranch. And so every quarter we take a group of 10 CEOs from around the globe and we work with them on this process. And it's actually been validated, but not enough. We got to do walkabouts. We got to get clinical testing. You got to get approvals. And so in that validation stage, we actually will do a walkabout and see if it really will, create the momentum and the demand as needed. So we do that. And it depends on how big we feel it has the opportunity to be. So strategy and execution. Those two things are really, really interesting. Are they the same thing? Strategy and execution, okay? Right here. Okay. Right. There's an idea that's up here in the cloud. Strategy is actually blueprinting it out and really mapping it out really strategically. And then execution is getting it done. Getting in after it. The last thing is really one of our secret sauces is called the velocity of relationship. So VOR is the velocity of relationship. It's really important. One of the things that we look for are CEOs or companies that we really enjoy working with. We're really good. We did the Energy Summit just about 2 weeks ago where we had all the top oil and gas companies there. We take them up fly fishing to our private ranch, and then in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, we had an energy summit where we had all of the top businesses in oil and gas. So we have all these entrepreneurs down here that are trying to get into the oil and gas. We'll actually put one of our CEOs with the president of the Oil and Gas Institute, or with Halliburton, or with Schlumberger, and they build relationships. We're really good at being able to accelerate relationships that way. So the last part is really relationships. A lot of people say relationships are everything. How many times have you heard that? It's not who you know, it's not what you know, it's who you know. What else? Okay, it's not who you know, it's how you know them. Okay, what else? What are some other? Okay, it's not who you know, it's who they know. Okay, and I like to say it's not who you know, it's who you know, it's who knows you and what they think about you. So there's a whole bunch of things. Relationships are very, very, very critical. And building relationships of trust. We will spend sometimes 5 years with the president of a bank before we'll ever even put together some kind of a deal or formal agreement, building those relationships up and helping accelerate access and acceleration. It's a really, really neat model. But this is what we dive deep in as a company. But these are the 5 elements. We're writing a book right now, and these elements are going to be in it. And it's really how you do all of this together. Because you can't just have that idea and all of a sudden get money in the bank. All of these have to be well done together. And then relationships are really the last part. You've got to be able to go in and close a deal. You've got to be able to go in and have people to be able to partner with you. You've got to have employees eventually. You've got to have people that can stand working with you. And so those things are really important, is the velocity of relationship on that side. Anybody have any additions to that or any questions? Hero Company is right now the working title that we're working on. So just a couple of last points. We don't have, I wanted to get into this model. This is really one of the books that I love by Pines. It's called Experience Economy. And it's a really, really great book that transformed our business. And it goes through this model about how you can actually develop a company that's very transformational. And it goes through the difference between commodities, goods, services, experience, and transformation. And it talks about the price differences. And I won't get into this too much, but there's a great book if you're interested in it by Pines. It's called Experience Economy. It is an amazing book to read on business models. 3 of my personal B's are, if you're wanting to do something or get some kind of a company going on, I really talk about 3 B's. Believe, belong, and become. Everybody wants a crusade. Everybody wants to belong to something. So if you're going to do anything, know what your core is and then be really passionate about whatever you do. If you're passionate about it, if you're passionate about something and you're good at it, those two things will help you to create revenue for a long period of time. There's a lot of people that I know that go and get a job just because it's going to help them create money. They may want to be an attorney or a doctor and end up hating it. My brother right now, he's an optometrist, and he would rather be doing something else. But I mean, he's already got 2 practices, and he's like, oh, why am I doing this? And he's now, having to deal with it because that's what he decided to do. There's a story in my book about an attorney and a janitor that you should read about that. So make sure that when you do something, you're very, very passionate about it, and that you so believe, belong, and become. On this last note. I'll end on this, but I wanted to just open it up for possibly some just Q&A for the next 5 minutes here. Love to just, if you guys have any questions for me that I could help answer, any ideas that you might have, I'd love to spend some time with if anybody has any Q&A. Okay?
How did you balance family and work? You seem very eager and you're constantly fighting for more and work harder, but you have 6 children.
I do.
So how do you balance that? Where do you find the middle ground?
It's really, that's a good question. And sometimes being an entrepreneur, you do get on a wobble. Sometimes there are some days where it's 24 hours a day to the grindstone, get it done. But I have to shut things off. Like when I get home, my kids take my cell phone. I mean, else I could be on that thing nonstop. I have 2 sets of twins. I've got 6 kids. I've got a significant church calling as well, and then we're running a business. And so there are times where you have to prioritize, and you have to put a strategy. I've built the same thing you do for business. I've put a whole strategy together for my life. And so when I get home, I shut things off and I spend time with my kids. I go on vacation with my kids. We spend quality time together. And I take my wife on vacations and make sure if mom ain't happy, nobody's happy. And so it's really important to keep that balanced life. And I talk a lot about when I'm asked to speak around about the home court advantage. If things aren't right at home, it's also so hard to be successful in business. And it's so hard to have joy and fulfillment and happiness. But when things are good at home, that's what I call the home court advantage. And so keeping that family life together helps in all aspects of your life. So. Okay? ABC. Okay. What do you spend your time doing is a really key factor. What do you gravitate to? So look at your day. Maybe just start a week and just say, man, for some reason I was doing my accounting class for 6 hours today. I love it. Then you should be an accountant, But I mean, you have to think about, where you gravitate to, where you naturally spend your time is one thing to do. Like, what are you really, really good at? And sometimes you may not enjoy it at first, but as you develop that talent, if you're really good at it, you will start to be passionate about it too. So I think a time is one good critical factor of that. Okay, any others? Right? Yes, I did. I did work for somebody I worked at McDonald's for 2.5 weeks and I got fired. I tried to innovate the process. I actually was a foreman for construction, and I never could, I just couldn't do it. And so I was really good at it, but I hated it, and it was good money, but I didn't like somebody coming around, what are you doing? Are you serious? This is all screwed up. It's like, it was in the dust. It was different. So yeah, I have. I thought about it, but not now. I'll never look back.
We're out of time.
Okay.
But did you want to talk about that quote real quick before we close?
No, this is from Steve Jobs, who has mentioned. It says, your work is going to fill a large part of your life, and the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work. And the only way to do great work is to love what you do. I've got some copies of my book. I've got about 60 copies, so if you guys would like to come get one. It was fun being here. I appreciate you guys. Thanks a bunch.
Let's give Randy a round of applause. Thank you.